So we got Carl Lister with us to launch his first payload in 1990.
89.
1989. And so he's got many years of flights and design. AMSAT member. So we're going to talk about linear translators.
Yes. I've got a real funny story about the 1989 flight. This is something you'll probably never forget. The 1989 flight was a commemorative flight for the 20th anniversary of man landing on the moon. And it transmitted Armstrong's message as he stepped on the moon, and also transmitted Kennedy's talk to Congress where he authorized the money to begin the moon landing endeavor. So the very first attempt to fly the balloon, I talked to Bill about this. We had it all together. The local TV was there, everybody was there, and the 5-volt regulator on the payload failed. And I got so frustrated, it was so embarrassing. I just loaded everything up in the car and I drove home. Well, in that payload, we had several things. One of them was an ELT, a practice frequency ELT, that the Civil Air Patrol was going to work with us, and they were going to find the package for us. So it was powered on a separate regulator. So in my frustration, I just threw everything in the car and I drove home. And I got home and I started fixing a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I was standing at the kitchen window, looking out the window, and here comes this guy in khakis walking through my yard, going like this. Oh my God, I forgot to turn the ELT off. And I ran outside, and the very first thing he said to me, "Do you have an airplane in your basement?" I didn't know he would have it. It came right to my backyard. Okay, so talking linear translators. First of all, this is one of the groups of students from UT. This was a 30-foot balloon, 10 feet diameter. This was part of what we call the SNOX series, Spirit of Knoxville, where in 2008, 2009, we were trying to send a balloon across the Atlantic Ocean. This is hardly a Pico balloon. The payload was 12 pounds. But I just want to share that's my favorite photograph of balloon. That's 2,300 cubic feet of balloon right there. But let's go to slide 2, please. Okay, so here is the difference between a classic FM repeater and a linear translator. The solution, the difference is really very simple. I'm not going to go through it a whole lot, but the basic repeater, you have an input of 146.34. You have a receiver, which directly goes down to audio. You take that audio, feed it into an FM transmitter, transmit it on another frequency, 146.94. Anyway, that's the basic FM repeater. The linear translator, the difference about it, everything's linear, and they both, the transmit and the receiver, share a common IF frequency. That's the difference. All the stages are Class A simplicity. So an input at 28.4, it's mixed up, or it gets mixed down to 21.4 megahertz, which is IF. We mix it back up to the final frequency, which is 144.4. Okay, number 2, please. Here is, so the flight that I flew 33 years ago in 1990, it was a little more complicated. It had 2 mixing stages, but basically the input was on 28.4, the output was on 144.3, and I had a preamp, a mixer, an IF filter, which sets the band pass, some more amplification, another mixer at 44.52 megahertz. That was the second local oscillator. The first local oscillator was 8.4. Then the CWI deer, which was at 64.53. All those get mixed together, mixed with the third local oscillator, and that gives us the final output frequency. Everything else past that point is amplification. Okay. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the schematic here too much, but input on 10 meters, we have an MPF 102 as the preamp. First local oscillator is 8.4 megahertz. Use a MPF 102 as the mixer. The crystal filter came out of an old GE handheld, I think, 20 megahertz crystal filter, an IF amplifier. Next, please. And then I use an NE602 as the second mixer. Here's the local oscillator. The second IF amplifier was a discrete transistor. And here's the keyed beacon, which is keyed with the CW signal. Okay, next. And those 2 come into the final amplifier trick, one more stage of amplification at 64.52. We mix that again with 79.783. And the output of the mixer is 144.303. So we're amplifying everything past that point. This is the final amplifier, whole whopping 100 milliwatts. There's actually another filter, but I didn't show on the schematic, which is the low pass filter at the antenna. So it drops it down a few, but that's about 100 milliwatts output. This is the one that we flew in 1990. Okay, next. And there's me. I did crash gantry, launch gantries, and that was a long time ago. I had where'd all that around here go. Okay, next.
Pictures, young guys.
There's the inside of the transponder. It's all discrete components. The various different circuit boards. There's a beacon, and anyway, this was the first input stage on the bottom, and the beacon's in the middle. Okay, next slide. And this power amplifier is on the bottom right hand side. The CWI here was a basic EEPROM step through with solid state counter, and they just outputted 1 and 0s for the CW call. Okay. And we had excellent reports from it. This was one of the longest distances. This was 25 miles away from Dayton, Ohio. We launched this from Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah, let's see. 19th of May, 1990. Okay, let's see, that was okay, so here is the video. I think it's slide number 12. Okay, here we go. Audio still on for here in the room.
Okay, yeah, I unmuted, so the audio for the room, so you
Okay.
can talk. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the second generation, which Joe owns. You can see it's gotten quite a bit smaller than the first generation. Okay, let's go to number 19. This is the link budget. So how far will the transponder transmit once it's in the balloon? I'm assuming 100,000 feet altitude. This path loss frequency versus frequencies on the left hand side. 28.4, 144.4 megahertz, 432 megahertz. Distance in miles, and this is the loss in dB. So I'm assuming the signal strength of 300 miles is what I want to calculate. That's generally the line of sight, 100,000 feet. The path loss at 300 miles is minus 130 dB. The balloon output power is plus 20. The station antenna gain, assuming it would be plus 10. Either on 2 meters or 430, but on 2 meters. So you figure that all out, you get a negative 110 dBm signal at your receiver. That's a pretty strong signal. These AMSAT guys know that's a pretty strong signal. So the transponder should easily be detectable at 300 miles. Okay, next slide, please. So the signal into the balloon at 28.4 megahertz. I have to wonder what does the average ham have? Most hams have a 100 watt HF transceiver. That's why I've chosen 28.4 megahertz. And most hams that have a 2 meter sideband capability are going to have some form of a gain. So they're going to have gain on the receive end. So we're making up for the low power from the transponder with gain on the ground by the station, and then we're making up for the fact that the transmit station doesn't. We're using a quarter wave dipole for the receiver on 28 megahertz. But you're running 100 watts from your ground station. Well, how much power does it take to get into the balloon? But if you look at the transmit power from the ground station needed for full saturation of the transponder output, which is negative 75 dBm, 115 minus 75 is plus 40 dBm, which is 10 watts into a 0 dB gain antenna. 10 watts on HF will get you into the transponder at 300 miles with full output power. Okay. Okay, if you want to fiddle with these things, here's some things to keep in mind. You want to keep the input frequency below the output frequency, so that your transmit frequency, a multiple of it, doesn't fall on your input frequency and you desync your own receiver. We're counting on frequency difference to give us the isolation between the receiver and the transmitter. On an FM receiver repeater, you could have a huge, heavy diplexer to do the work for you. You can't fly one of those in a balloon. So the advantage to get the separation we need is to use frequency. Use a broad set of frequencies that are far apart. Class A amplification for everything. Since it's linear, simplicity, Class A is the simplest scheme to use for all the stages. And on the train itself, the balloon train, you want to keep the antennas as far apart, separated as you can. Okay, I think now, I have 11-minute audio. I think Bill's mentioned on this audio here from 1990. You got to forgive the quality of this thing and the dubbing. This was made from using Windows 98 on a Sound Blaster card a long time ago. So that's the audio clip number 21. I think we're gonna have to manually start that. We need volume wide open. This is a really terrible. I apologize for the audio quality. This is from the flight in 1990.
Anyone on frequency to the Borne translator. This is Whiskey Alpha 4 Alpha Delta Golf. Tuesday 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whiskey Alpha 4 Alpha Delta Golf. Testing through the Borne translator. Is anyone on frequency? Over.
We have maximum audio.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. That's quality.
4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tune in a little bit, but super signal. Well, I will catch you later and let you make some other contact. 73 is Bill, 73, and for PXV. RPXV and for PXV, WA4ADG. WA4ADG from November 4, Papa X-ray Victor. Good morning. Oh, Bill, how you doing for PXV? Let's see, Bill, is that you? This is Alan. This is Alan, Carl. Go ahead. Okay, I'm really rattled here. Let me try to tune this up now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, how long have you been copying the signals? Have you talked to anyone else yet? I just got set up myself. Well, that was my first QSO on it. I've been copying it, though, for about 5, maybe 10 minutes ever since you launched it. Okay, great. So you're probably the first person to get through it then. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well, it doesn't take much power to get into it. I'm only running probably 5 watts out. Okay, you're an S9 to me. You're a signal strength 9 into West Knoxville here. Okay, are you able to copy the beacon? Yes, I am. It was just clear as a bell. Roger, okay. Well, I hope we can get some...
Meters too.
Yes.
Here, or if it's the Bloom package itself.
Correct. From audio.
Pretty nasty temperatures right now. Okay, the FCC didn't have any problem with it going up this morning? You mean the FAA? No problem at all. In fact, we had clear skies, very clear skies, over. Okay, yeah, I meant FAA. That one doesn't roll off my tongue. Yeah. Yeah, there's no problem at all. In fact, we had beautiful clear skies with just a few patches of clouds. Okay, very good, Carl. Well, we'll tune around and see what else we can hear. You heard that last QSO. The guy was in South Carolina, Malden, South Carolina. Was that through the translator, or was that just somebody else on 10 meters? Through the translator. He went.
You have a CWID on that?
Yes.
Okay, what was his call sign? I didn't get
Copy of it later on.
Whiskey Bravo 4, Tango Bravo Foxtrot, WB4 TBS.
That was an EEPROM.
Malden, South Carolina.
Those are hard to find nowadays.
Wow, great. Okay, well, I'm hoping we can get some more activity generated.
What's that?
I'm going to run a test here in a second.
Not a power speaker. I know it would work.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, WA4ADG.
A USB speaker,
No, it's actually, it's
like a jack.
yeah.
I can try to plug it in.
Yeah, you want to stop? Yeah.
Carl?
Yeah.
We've already passed 3 o'clock if we want to make.
Oh, okay.
I think we got the idea.
Yeah. Just stop that train, stop that and go to the last one, the 22. Bill's mentioned on that. His friend was one of the stations that went through that.